This is Bob Connors, Chair of the Newbury Conservation Commission. I call the July 2nd meeting to order. Please permit me to confirm that all members and persons anticipated on the agenda are present and can hear me. Members, when I call your name, please respond in the affirmative. Mary.
Caught me off guard. Here.
TJ.
Here.
Diane.
Yes.
Okay, and Bob Connors. Good evening. This open meeting of the Newbury Conservation Commission is being conducted remotely, consistent with Governor Baker's executive order of March 12, 2020, extended until March 31st, 2025, due to the current state of emergency in the Commonwealth due to the outbreak of COVID-19. In order to mitigate the transmission of COVID-19, we have been advised and directed by the Commonwealth to suspend public gatherings, and as such, the governor's order suspends the requirement of open meeting law to have all meetings in a publicly accessible physical location. Further, all members of public bodies are allowed and encouraged to participate remotely. Hang on one second. Okay. The order, which you can find posted with the agenda materials for this meeting, allows public bodies to meet entirely remotely, so long as reasonable public access is afforded so that the public can follow along with deliberations of this meeting. Please note this meeting is being recorded and that attendees are participating by video conference. All right, team, I see. All right, we get 4 of us. I hopefully will see Mick and Woody shortly. Okay, first order of business, upcoming meeting dates, July 16th, August 6th, and August 20th. We have no meeting minutes for review tonight. The first matter will be a certificate of compliance for DEP file number 0501419, 62 Middle Road, septic tank installation as built provided. Team, I had, is anyone from 62 Middle Road on the call for a presentation? Is James Kavanaugh on the call? So team, I was out doing site inspections prior to the meeting, and I had a chance to drive over to 62 Middle Road. The septic tank has certainly been installed. The yard has been graded. Although there's no vegetation, and there still are probably 2 or 3 stumps that are kind of stockpiled, but looking like they're going to be removed. The front and side yard's been graded and possibly seeded, but there is no vegetation. So why don't I stop there, and questions from the members? Mary, any questions on this one?
Yeah, I tried to look up the order of conditions to see if it had been recorded, and I couldn't find any record of it. So my first item is that we seem to be missing any evidence that the order was properly recorded. And the second is, since this was a septic system, really, and we don't have any say over much except for the stabilization when they're completed, I would say that we probably need to give them some time to finish the work and get some grass growing so that we can.
Would we entertain a partial certificate, Mary? I'm just wondering.
I don't know what partial would do for us, since we were really just responsible for the grading and the final stabilization. Right. Other than to say that the system went in, and if we have anything from the Board of Health that says that they've signed off on it, it's hard to, we don't have really any information at this point. So I would hesitate to issue a partial certificate with so many unknowns.
Yep. Thank you, Mary. TJ, what are your thoughts on this one?
I would probably hold off on making any decision, at least till we have somebody, a representative from the party here to, if there are any questions, to answer them and give us any further details of when they're finishing and how they're finishing.
Okay, thank you, TJ. Diane, what do you think?
Along the same lines, you said there was no, I haven't seen it, but if you said there's no vegetation, was there supposed to be?
Well, there's no grading. I mean, typically when they put in a septic system, you know, in the past, when we've done a site inspection or the agent has done a site inspection, one of the questions we typically ask is, has the site been revegetated, you know, to stabilize the site? And if it has, or the grass is growing, it's one thing. Like I say, this probably was landscaped a week ago, as far as loom and what have you. And it's on its way. It may be more appropriate, you know, 30 days down the road when we can see some vegetation in there.
Was the erosion control still up?
Yeah, it was.
Okay.
Everything was still in place, and it fairly level lot, Mary. But again, there's no vegetation stabilizing the site.
Okay.
So why don't we do this? Why don't we take no action? We don't have the applicant present. And why don't we take no action at this point, as it's premature to? And we will continue this to our next meeting, which will be, we'll put it on the June 16th. And we'll see if we can
16th?
have July 16th,
Yep.
excuse me, is our next scheduled meeting. And what I'll do is have Chrissy make sure that she reaches out to the applicant, that one, someone should be present, and two, status of the Board of Health, have they signed off? And when do they anticipate actually having the work done and ready for a site inspection? So that doesn't require any action on our part, team, but I'll just make a notation that this is going to be continued to the July 16th meeting. All right, next matter before the commission is a certificate of compliance for DEP file number 0500622. This is an expired order for 120 Northern Boulevard, and the certificate is for no work completed. And it goes back to 2001. I've driven by the site. There's been no disturbance, whatever. There's no activity, no disturbance. It's fully vegetated. I know that there was a real estate closing scheduled for last Friday, and this was a title glitch that came up, and where it's for no work has been completed. I'll open this up to questions. Mary, what are your thoughts?
I couldn't find the original plan, so it wasn't clear what the work was, but it seemed like it was even from the order, it seemed like it was fairly limited, and there was just a requirement for some planting in the order of conditions, it looked like.
Yeah.
The old order. So if you think it looks good, I'm fine with that.
Nothing has been disturbed there. I think you disturb the frontal dune more by trying to do anything. It's fully mature site.
Mhm.
Anything else, Mary?
Nope.
Okay, TJ, any questions on this one?
No, I drove by it. I have no questions.
Okay, thank you. Diane, any questions on this one?
No.
All right, are there any raised hands from the public? I don't see any, team, but if anyone sees anybody, that would be helpful. Oh, okay, seeing none, I'll entertain a motion to issue a certificate of compliance for 120 Northern Boulevard.
So moved.
Okay.
Second,
Mary, thank you. Okay, roll call. All in favor, Mary,
yes.
TJ,
Aye.
Diane,
Yes.
and Bob Connors. Thank you for your patience. What I'm going to ask you to do, because I'm actually taking notes as I'm doing this so that we have a fighting chance to get the minutes done with motions and seconds, and it'll afford me from going back and having to watch the video in a week from now. So appreciate your cooperation. Next matter is a certificate of compliance, DEP file number 050139516 Dartmouth Way. And I see Tom Hughes is on the call. I drove by this site. It has been fully planted. All the vegetation is green and healthy. And it appears to be in order. Tom, do you want to give us a presentation?
Yeah, I mean, this was a new house, and we, and everything that was done is pretty much right in line uh, with the proposed plans. And actually, I'm trying to remember new house or addition, but basically all the site work was done per plan. There was a little bit of an adjustment in a outdoor play area and patio area. And I met Sam Holt on site last fall while she was still the agent, and she was fine with the minor changes that were made. It didn't really impact overall our net vegetated area in any kind of significant way, and the site looks good.
Okay, I'll open this up to questions for the members. Mary, any questions on this one?
I'm just reviewing the engineer's letter. There was a Pea-stone patio built slightly larger than the proposed, but the sand play area was built smaller, and there's a thin strip immediately adjacent to the structure. So that sounds relatively minor. Granite edging, while not called for, was used along the Pea-stone driveway, walks, and patios to define the limit of each feature. This, I believe, is this one in a V zone?
No, this is
no.
on
This was
back.
outside, this is backed
Yeah.
in, that's right.
Yeah,
So
this is,
so we're good, okay. And then, under vegetated areas were planted, so I think it looks good.
thank you, Mary. TJ, what are your thoughts on this one?
I'm all good.
Diane, any questions on this one?
Nope. Green and healthy is good.
Yeah, well, you know what? I can actually see this house from my home.
Yeah.
And Britton was the builder on it, and typically Britton does a good job. And I was actually amazed how green the beach grass was. I mean, it was
Came out
did a
good.
nice job. Okay, are there any raised hands from the public at this time? I don't see any, but okay, I don't, having no raised hands from the public. I'll entertain a motion to issue a certificate of compliance for 16 Dartmouth Way.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, Diane. Okay, roll call vote, all in favor, Mary,
Yes,
TJ,
Aye.
Diane,
Yes.
and Bob Connors votes yes. Thank you, Tom. All right, certificate of compliance. DEP file number 0501376, 141 Northern Boulevard. I did have a chance to take a ride by there today. I haven't reviewed the file, but it looks like it was for vertical extension only. So Tom, why don't you make a presentation? And if there's any questions, please respond.
Yeah, so this one was pretty much all interior with a little bit of like entry reconfiguration, was pretty much the extent of the exterior. And then there was a proposed patio, and in exchange for the patio, there was going to be some removal of pavement and some other things to mitigate. Some of the pavement removal was not done, but the patio was also not constructed. And so the mitigated plantings that were proposed were more in relation to the patio than anything. So those elements were not done. I think just going through the whole renovation process, they were just, generally they got through the house, and I think they just had put it so much effort into it. I'm not sure they really had the energy to go forward and do any more work. So they're pleased with all the stuff they did interior and the entry reconfiguration. And while the letter from Everett, is long and details a lot of stuff, I think the net is that there was hard surface removed, a pretty significant amount that way overcompensates for the impact of the entry, and that the patio area was just not done.
Okay, let me open this up to questions from the members. Mary, questions on this matter?
I don't think I saw the letter from Everett on this one. So I'm kind of operating in the dark here. If Tom has that letter or the plan and we could look at, that would be helpful, because I don't think that I received anything on this one.
Okay, give me a second. think I've got the right one. Bizarre thing is I can't see what I just shared. Can you guys see the
Yeah,
letter?
we can see the letter, but if you can just delete your
Okay.
toolbar, then we can see it better.
That's okay. Hold on a second. I'm not seeing anything on my screen in the shared window. If that makes
Yeah,
any
we're,
sense.
we're
seeing
saying
it.
that, and
Is
what,
it in your
Oh,
other,
there we
on your
go.
other screen?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, there we go.
Mary's suggestion, if you can just collapse your toolbar. Oh, there you go.
Yeah, no, I see what was going on. Okay.
Okay, you could
I
scroll
need
up.
to move you guys out of the way. So, all right.
Entry stairs have been constructed in a different configuration.
Right, so the proposed area was 20 and the as-built was 57. So then here's the stuff. There was pavement that was to the north of the proposed stairs, that wasn't removed and planted with Virginia rose. Et cetera here, but so there was this paver trash recycling area, I believe was present and just not on the original permit plan. The air conditioning compressor isn't shown. Then there's a temporary mat, outdoor shower, Peastone walkway. But there was 118 square feet of concrete removed from the site. Clamshell area in front of the house was not installed. So there's 527 square feet less impact there. So it's a bunch of, small numbers here, but the net is it was not much of a project. And the biggest part of it, the big clamshell patio area just wasn't done. And there was no real vegetation impact from the project, so all of the mitigation was more associated with putting the clamshell patio in.
And do you have the plan that you could pull up?
Yeah, give me a second. All right, can you see the plan now?
Yes.
Yep.
Just
So
needs
this
to-
is the as-built. So this area before the project was all sand. It was basically as is. There was no vegetation to speak of. On the property, there was a little bit that you kind of see that comes over from the neighbors right there. And then there was some old lawn and then areas of sand that are kind of in this area. The original plan, I think, was we were going to remove this little bit of pavement.
Looks like you froze up.
Yeah. Tom, if you can hear us, you,
Oh, are you back?
Well, my internet
Yes.
connection is unstable, it says. Let me turn off my video. That's sometimes let's see, stop video. Video usually takes up a lot of the connection. Can you hear me now?
we can, Tom.
Okay. So what I was saying is originally the proposal was to put in this turf grass area here and in the sand area, kind of a big patio area, and do some foundation plants of Virginia rose. And so that part just wasn't done. And then this is the walkway that wasn't removed right here.
And then the steps that are different, how are they different?
They come down on all
Oh, I see.
sides,
Okay.
as
Yep.
opposed to coming down towards the drive. I think we actually had, along with the patio, we kind of had a fancier path coming up to the set of stairs. And then it would have kind of blended into a patio area.
And do we know if the outdoor shower is connected to the sewer system?
I don't know that.
And the temporary mat, what is that?
Under the shower, it's just like a mat. That, you know, like a rubber or plastic mat on the
No,
ground.
but to the left,
think-
it says, doesn't it say
Oh,
to the left on the lot line, the left lot? I can't read it, but it says temporary something, doesn't it? What is that square?
that's
say?
a grill and a table.
And what does the note say right above it?
Above it.
Right there.
Oh, temporary mat. That's a good question.
You know what, when I was there today, Tom and Mary, that was not, it was all sand there. There was no temporary mat, as I recall.
Okay.
Certainly of
And-
that size, I don't know if there was a little 3x3
And
or
the
something.
property, I think the property owner is on with us and we could have him just kind of answer what that was. I didn't see
Sure.
that. Everett mentioned it.
Hey,
Really?
Tom, can you
Yeah.
hear me? Hey,
Yeah.
hey, Mary. So that temporary mat. So I have a 4 and a
Hey,
3-year-old.
Before you
We,
start, before you
yeah, yeah.
start, before you start, please give your name and your address, just so that we have a
My
record.
name's Rini Dumont. My address is 141 Northern Boulevard. And that temporary mat was for my 4 and 3-year-old. So they would play on that side of the yard. So when the site plan was installed, so we placed a mat there for them to put their toys and stuff like that.
So Renee, is that Matt there now?
It is. Yep.
What is it made of? Is it like a,
Probably like
Plastic.
nylon or something, or plastic or something, but it's you can water goes through it.
is it something you pull up at the end of the year or?
It is,
winter,
yeah.
or-
We just stake it there for the girls during the summer so they could play, but and then we pull it up when we're done with it for the summer. It's just because they get all sandy and they get all dirty, so we just place the mat there for all their toys.
If that wasn't an area that was intended to be planted, then I don't have a problem with it. I just
Yeah,
can't.
that was all
I-
sand. That was all sand in the beginning.
Okay, so there wasn't, was there mitigation planting anywhere?
The only mitigation planting was associated with that patio, and it was basically foundation plants, and we were gonna put some on this side of the, and we had a kind of this path that came in and went to that patio area, and then there were gonna be foundation plants on this side
Okay.
as well.
And the driveway was always bituminous, or is that new?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
And there was, as Everett's letter indicated, there was like 112 square feet of concrete removed as part of the project.
And the pavers, are they new? On that right
Really?
there?
Those pavers, are they new or were they there?
Those are pre-existing.
Yeah, that's what I thought. Let me see if I've got anything in the old permit file that might show that.
And my last question, Renee, is do you know if that outdoor shower is connected to your septic, to the sewer line?
It is not.
Okay, those are my questions.
Okay, I'll circle back, Mary, after I go through
Thanks.
the other members. Hey, TJ, do you have any questions for Tom Hughes on this? Request?
Yeah, the outdoor shower was existing already. It's just either replacement of it, fixing of it. Is that correct, or is that brand new?
Yeah,
No,
well, I think
new.
it's called up because we put an enclosure around it. So there was never an enclosure around it before. So you'll see, there used to be that's where our faucet is between the two windows. So we had, when we would come off the beach, we installed like a shower head, and then we put an enclosure around it. So you'll see the faucet there between the two windows.
In here?
That's correct.
And the patio things look like they're right. So there's patio stones here,
Those all got removed. Yeah,
right? And then over here, I think off screen is where that patio area is showing up.
that's right. Yeah, there those are.
Yeah. Unfortunately, my original conditions things don't show that. But you can see there's a bunch of
Yeah, I see those.
materials that were on the ground there.
And as far as the rest of the permit that you're not gonna do at this time, is that just completely void, or is that gonna be done at a later time?
What do you mean by rest of the permit?
The
Uh,
items that you're not doing.
The patio and the, so you can see like the front of it was all landscape shrub and this was gonna be the area for the patio in here. The removing of the sidewalk and the, you know, the walk from your drive to the steps. And the,
Yeah,
the,
so
ver-
so as you know, those shrubs were removed. Our intention was to do clamshell in that area and have Virginia rose in front of the house. That's what we decided at the time of construction. We've come to realize that clamshell can be kind of quite a nuisance and very messy. So we're unsure if we actually want to move forward with that, and we weren't too familiar with Virginia rose. So we're actually kind of okay with how it is after that. So that was a sun porch that got removed as part of construction. Those 4 windows there, so that's
Right here.
gone. And you know the way it is now, we're kind of okay with it. Again, a lot of it was going to be clamshell, but you know we decided just one, the look, and then two, it's going to be in front of the house, so we weren't happy with how it would end up looking, and then it could be quite messy.
So
Right.
that will
And-
never happen.
Correct.
right,
Yeah, I
and-
think the point is, TJ, once the certificate's closed out, no additional work can be done without being re-permitted.
Correct. That's making sure he has no intention of doing that later.
Right, and Rini just reminded me, so unfortunately, I was on the road coming back from Boston, didn't have time to read through a few things before the hearing. So there was so this was proposed second floor addition, and then there was a sun porch that was removed from
Correct. Yep.
from the site. So there was structure removed. So to me, there's plenty of mitigation for what occurred, and you can see how we originally proposed this sort of massive clamshell area here. And then plantings that were gonna go in this area here.
And just to explain the stairs, and then why the kind of the walk, the pavement to the stairs, it as you can see, considering where our driveway is, it seemed after we constructed it would be very unnatural to not have that walkway to the stairs. So that's why. So first of all, it was kind of stairs on all 3 sides versus just the front, because there's not a natural path from the driveway to the front. And that's why that small 20, I think Tom called it 27 square feet of pavement from driveway to the newly constructed stairs were not removed.
So it ended up being like this.
So just to confirm, Tom, the original footprint of structure has been reduced by the elimination of the 4-windowed porch, correct?
Yeah. Right.
And there was upward expansion of the existing home, but no outward expansion, because I didn't see anything.
Right. I mean, rearrangement of the accesses is sort of the only
Right.
real expansion of anything.
Okay. All right, TJ, anything else before I move on?
Nope, no further.
Okay, Diane, any questions for Tom or Winnie on this? You're on mute, Diane, if you're,
Sorry about that, immature. When you took the shrubs out of the front, what's there now? Is it just plain sand? There's nothing in front of the house?
That's correct. Just saying.
That's where the porch, enclosed porch used to be.
Yeah, there was a 20 by 12 sun porch that got removed, and it's just sand now.
Okay.
And
Eh,
I do
anything
want
else?
to mention those are foundation plants that really have no dune function in terms of what they did. So I don't see that as sort of a loss of dune function associated with vegetation.
Diane, anything else?
Now,
Mary, let me circle back to you for some final thoughts and comments.
Yeah, I think I've got everything. The second floor roof deck is within the building footprint, it looks like, so
Correct.
that doesn't expand. Yeah, and I would encourage, more native plantings around and we could probably do that as under a request for determination in the future, so it would be a more simplified filing, but I think for this purpose, for terms of a certificate of compliance, I think we have what we need.
Okay. All right, thank you. Any raised hands from the public? I don't see any. Tom, can you collapse your,
Yeah, there we go.
okay, great. All right, I do not see any raised hands from the public. I'll entertain a motion to issue a certificate of compliance for 141 Northern Boulevard.
So moved.
Second,
Okay. Hey, roll call. All in favor? Mary,
Yes,
TJ,
Aye.
Diane,
yes.
Bob Connors votes yes. Thank you, Rennie. Okay, we
Thank
have,
you all.
let's see here. I think that covers all of the certificates of compliance. Let me just double check here.
yep, you are good.
Okay. All right, so we keep outstanding enforcement orders on the agenda. 105 Northern Boulevard. I actually drove by that today when I was doing site inspections. It looks like the original grades have been restored, but the plantings have not been undertaken. So there's no action has been taken. The applicant has until July 16th to provide a revegetation plan. And my understanding is they're just going to come back and propose that beach grass, 12 inches on center, be the solution to their planting. So what I'm anticipating, we're probably just going to get a letter from their engineer stating that all disturbed areas will receive 12 by 12 planting, but so there's no action to take. We'll put this on the July 16th meeting. All right, enforcement order, DEP file number 050134420 Point Road, Sunset Club. For unauthorized work, including the construction relocation of structures. Team, as you recall, we issued a enforcement order. The applicant had come in, they had an expired order of conditions, and they were seeking some guidance on the next steps to rectify this and apply for a new order of conditions. And I see Vince on the call. Vince, just give us your name and address, and why don't you give us an update of where you're at on this one?
Sure. Vincent Godin, 28 Harvard Way, Newbury, Massachusetts. I'm one of the owners of the Cottages Commercial. So since I guess a few weeks back, there was a lot of the commission was able to walk the property and kind of give us some comments and some guidance. And I unfortunately wasn't there, but from what was reported back to me, we provided the information to Millennium Engineering, who has been working on creating a new NOI that is going to address some of the changes that were done, some of the differences that were done during the construction, and kind of deal with the as-built condition that's there at the moment. I was actually at their office today answering some additional questions that they needed. One of the things we're trying to address, and they have reached out to Joe Sawatka to get some guidance on some of the stormwater and rain garden, and just trying to understand, because we don't want to kind of guess at something and have him, because he has to give his opine on it. We want to make sure we're kind of on the same page and kind of come in with something that's complete. I could actually share a screen if that is all right.
Yeah, certainly.
So we've since then we kind of did an existing landscape assessment here, addressing kind of where we have grasses and bushes and where those totals are. And that's going to kind of get incorporated on there, as well as kind of an estimate of where we anticipate putting some new grasses and bushes. We have a meeting with our landscaper tomorrow. Unfortunately, the original landscaper that had done this work passed away. So we have a new landscaper who's coming in, and we're going to be meeting with him to get a little more details as far as the the types of grasses and bushes that are available right now that meet the CMC and the requirements for native species. And so we'll have a little more information on that, hopefully in the next week, to put on the final NOI that'll get submitted. Not soon enough, in my opinion, but unfortunately, these engineers are very busy people, and you know, I'm trying to get them to move it along as fast as possible, but it is what it is.
Vince, do you have a estimated time when your submittal will be presented?
Yeah, I was really hoping to get it in for the 16th, but my understanding from the engineers, especially given the 4th of July week that we've got here, that we probably won't get everything done in time to get the notification requirements done for the 16th meeting. So unfortunately, it'll probably push it to the 8th or 6th, I believe you said, of
Yeah,
next.
August 6th is that first meeting in August.
Yeah, so if they're pushing to try and get it done sooner, but after our meeting today and trying to discuss some of the stormwater rain garden stuff, it sounds like I'd rather push it one more meeting than try and guess at something to find out that it's not exactly what was wanted and have to kind of start from, you know, push it back even further. So we're hoping to get his feedback in the next week from Joe and then have something ready to submit for the August meeting.
I think the commission's goal is to establish a timeline, Vince,
Yep.
when you'll be back before us. So team, what I'm going to suggest is why don't we amend the existing enforcement order to read that the NOI submittal will be filed with the commission for the August 6th meeting. I think that's really the most outstanding matter, just to establish that. And Vince, if for whatever reason prior to that time there's an issue, you know, where you're dealing with Joe, let us know. But that's my thoughts. I'll stop there. Mary, what are your thoughts on this one?
Yes, I agree. I mean, if you need an extension, you know, let us know. But I think that makes sense if you're not going to have the information ready for the next meeting, on the 16th, then let's shoot for the 6th so we can get it in advance of the meeting and have a chance to review it before the meeting.
Yeah, I'm hoping to have at least a draft to Sean before the next meeting for him to review and give his quick feedback on, so that we can still meet the timelines to get it in for the August meeting.
And in addition to the plantings, if you could also just have them tally the impervious areas from the approved plan versus what's there now.
Okay.
I think
make a note of that.
yeah, there's some discrepancies. There's some additional areas that weren't, I think, counted in the original plan. So that would be helpful to know as well.
Yeah, I believe actually we ended up net having less impervious because we took out about a few hundred square feet of concrete. But I'll have them run those numbers and figure that out.
Well, it would have been less from the previous, you know, pre-construction condition, but
Oh, from no, but it was approved with a few hundred square feet of concrete staying in place that we ended up taking out because it wasn't going to make sense for ADA purposes and whatnot. And then there's, I think, 120 feet of wall that was approved that we ended up not building, which was an improvement to the conditions. But we can have them outline all that information, so you guys have something very good information to weigh what was done and not done, and understand that.
And then one other point I just wanted to throw out, maybe this is the time to do it, Bob, is that there's new legislation that just passed that's an economic leadership bill, and buried in this bill is another provision to have another permit tolling, unrelated to COVID, but it's sort of extending where they left off. There's a lot of confusion with the developers and state about the 465 days and how it was applied, and a lot of people got caught thinking that they had more time than they really did, and things expired. Right, the version that I saw is retroactive until January 1st, 2023. It would provide a 2-year extension. So that's not law now, so we can't really do anything about it. But it's possible over the next few weeks, before the end of this session, legislative session, that will be. Because
And
it's passed
do
the
you
House
know
and the
that-
Senate now.
Did you have to apply in that time frame where they were doing the tolling for it to extend, or they because I believe we had originally applied before the time frame where the tolling would have applied?
So the House and Senate, they have to go to the subcommittee and work out the final language.
Got
Because
it.
the language was different in the two bills, to that respect. So I don't know what the ultimate would be, but the one that, the most recent one that I saw just said any approval that was valid as of January 1st, 2023.
Oh,
Would be extended for 24 months, Mary?
Mhm.
Okay,
Until either 2025 or 2026, any permits within that window get extra 2 years. I think the other issue is that because development it's taking a lot longer. The financing and everything else, it's taking longer to get things through the permit process, so people are having to circle back again, before they can get underway, or get completed. So this is something that I think is going to be coming up in the next few weeks, but it's something to keep our eyes open for.
okay. So Vince, with the good graces of the Commonwealth, the variance that you have and what you're proposing may be able to come in as an amendment to your original plan. That's a possibility.
Yeah, the only thing is that DEP won't allow an amendment that increases impacts. So if the work you're doing is an increase in impact, that won't be allowed. If you're taking stuff out, that would be different. So
Okay.
Making improvements to the resource.
Okay. Anything else, Mary, before I continue?
No, that's it. But I like your
Okay.
approach about, just setting a timetable for the EO.
Yeah, again, you know what, it just keeps it on path, and who knows, by August 6th, you may have some good news, Vince, on whether what you're proposing would fall within the parameters of this extension. Okay, thank you, Mary. TJ, any questions for Vince on this one?
Nope, no questions.
Okay, thank you, TJ. Diane, any questions for Vince on this matter?
No, I was at the site walk, so it just seems to be tending to things that had been discussed. So thank you.
Okay. All right, I'll entertain a motion to modify the existing enforcement order establishing a time for an NOI submittal of August 6th, 2024. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
So second,
Okay.
So is that the meeting date?
Yeah, that is the meeting date.
Because we need it in order for them to have a valid or notice of intent. They have to do the public notice and everything before that meeting date. So it would have to be the week before. They have to be submitted the week before the meeting.
Okay, why don't we just, if they have to be prepared for the meeting of August 6th.
Okay, I hear what you're saying.
Okay.
Yep.
So they're either going to be ready to go and have the advertising and have their number in hand, or they'll be
Got it.
chatting with us on August 2nd.
Okay.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second. All those in favor, Mary,
Yes.
TJ,
Aye.
Diane,
yes.
and Bob Connors vote yes. Thank you, Vince. Okay, next matter, continue public hearing. DEP file number 0501428, 59 Plum Island Turnpike for construction of a single-family dwelling and grading. Team, we had this, this was before us at the last couple of meetings. It was a expired order of conditions to build a home in this area, replacing the existing one that expired. And the applicant closed out the application, got a certificate of compliance for no work. And this is a new submittal. At the last public hearing, the commission asked for an elevation, cross-section elevation showing the garage floor elevation and the first floor habitable elevation. I see Bob Grasso. Bob, do you want to just identify yourself and
Sure.
make your presentation?
My name is Bob Grasso from ELS. This is 59 Plum Island Turnpike. This is the continuation of an NOI. I've revised the plan accordingly to the last meeting. I showed the profile view on the plan. I can pull that up on there.
If you would, Bob, thank you.
Can you see that?
Yes.
Okay. Let's see which one I got over here. Okay. Here's the profile view right here. The existing grade, that's right there now is 7.2. The first floor, the garage floor, which is not habitable, will be elevation 10. And the FEMA flood AE elevation is elevation 13. And he's going to have a 12-foot garage door because he wants to park a boat inside that garage area. And then the first floor elevation would be elevation 25. And then there'd be a wall with a roof pitch of 12 pitch on the roof. The elevation on the ground, below the ground, would be a frost wall at elevation 3.2. That's just for the footing. And the ramps, the wood ramps that go up to the garage doors would be with a steel beam undercarriage. And then there'd also be a concrete pad below the existing pavement. And that would rest on that. That would be anchored into the concrete pad there. And it also would be anchored at the garage floor at elevation 10. On the plan view, one of the revisions that the commission wanted was, let me see. They wanted me to show the existing shed to be raised because we were going to relocate it on the site, but John Hartnett, the owner, wanted it to just remove it completely off the site. Then we proposed a landscaping island there to stop the traffic flow because everybody that probably goes to Bob's Lobster goes by the place and then turns around in his driveway because he owns the lot on his existing dwelling number 57 is right here. And there's the lot line between the two lots. So he's putting a landscape out in there. And the other two ramps for the regular garage doors would be for cars. The existing dwelling shown in the dash line right here would be removed. And that was 13 feet off the edge of wetland, which was delineated by Norris Environmental, shown in blue. And the closest proposed setback to the wetland line would be 20 feet. We're just proposing some pavement to meet the ramp right here of 332 square feet. And then we're also proposing to remove a tree and a granite post right here. So you actually could drive in right here and get the boat up on the ramp and into the garage. And that additional pavement right there, and that's 268 feet right there. What else was the commission wanted? That the profile, the ramps, and the elevation of the ramps. And
Bob, why don't you go to the table on the plus
Sure.
and minuses of
sure.
impervious to.
Yeah. Let's see. And let's see, we go. All right, the site work chart. The existing to be removed was the existing dwelling, which is 953. The decks and the steps, 350 square feet, and the existing pavement. That's the island, and that's been replaced with the landscape. The proposed dwelling would be 764, but with a flow-through foundation. That would be, with grates or fixed blades or faceplate or grill or decorative facets for the flow-through. And those would be a minimum of 1 foot above the existing grade. This proposed steps right here would be 36 square feet, and the proposed pavement total would be 600. So the delta would be 570 in reality, but that's if that was solid. But we have a flow-through foundation on that, so that would be way lower than would be in the minus. We're actually taking effect of the wave action in that area, so we're not affecting any wave. We're not decreasing any wave movement with the flow-through foundation. John has been mowing that lawn, which is, let me see right over here. Right here. He's been mowing this lot for about 40 years now, way before the Wetland Protection Act. They're exempt from being enforced from not cutting the lawn anymore. And that's it. I mean, the garage floor is at 10, it's not habitable. The first floor is well above 13, which is elevation 25, which is habitable. And the proposed building would be a 42 by 42. The previous approved plan that we closed out on the notice of intent, the COC, I think 2 or 3 meetings before this one, was done in was approved by the Newbury Conservation Commission and DEP. It was approved in 2013, had an order of conditions. They were proposing a 36 by 76 foot building, and it was only 6 feet off the wetland. We're proposing 20 feet. And he did not complete that work here or start that work. So that got closed out, that DEP number. The current DEP number right now had no technical comments except for the riverfront area, which is, they predict that, well, they're calling that at 5.2, which is the highest spring tide wave action in that area, and we're above 6 elevation, like 5.8, and they're calling it at 5.2.
Okay, Bob, why don't you hold there and let me open this up to questions
Sure.
from the members.
Sure.
Mary, questions for Bob Grasso on this submittal?
Yes, so the wetland line you're showing is, what are we calling that? What's the resource there?
That's the
Salt
edge of
marsh?
wetlands, which was done, delineated. I can have Maureen Harold, she's the botanist who flagged that.
I assume that's salt marsh, and if she's on, maybe she can talk about that, but
Yeah.
also, where is the riverfront area on the site, and how are we applying the riverfront regulations to this project?
Hi, Mary, Maureen Harold.
Hi.
So it is salt marsh, but most of that area is maintained as lawn area.
Mhm.
You can see the existing fence line. So
Yep.
between the existing fence and the existing dwelling, that's lawn, but it's maintained that way. Okay. And then regarding the riverfront area, these are obviously tidal rivers. And my understanding is that it goes off of the mean annual high water.
Mhm.
This would be considered a redevelopment because we do have an existing dwelling on the property itself. And one thing to note is we actually have less square footage because we're removing the shed for the impervious area as well. Bob, I think you might have left that out of your calculations. So the delta is actually less than 570. It's 326.5 square feet.
Okay, thank you.
So the riverfront area isn't shown, so I don't know how much of the development is within the riverfront area, or presumably all of it is. And there are different standards for redevelopment, and it's possible that this could apply, but you need to also comply with a few other performance standards, and one is that you can't encroach for closer to the river than existing conditions. And the other is you have to provide some improvements to existing conditions. So and I don't know if this is in rare species habitat, was that looked at? It might be outside.
No, it is not. No,
Yeah.
it is not.
Okay, so you don't have to worry about that issue, but the other two items are, a potential concern because the new deck is 13 feet, it looks like, from the wetland, and the existing structure is further away from that. So you may need to reorient the building in order to comply with that provision, and also provide some kind of additional mitigation, either reduction in impervious, further reduction in impervious areas or increase in planting areas, native plantings. So I think as currently proposed, I can't approve it. I can't sign off on it because I think we're missing some information.
Mary, just one point, the 13 feet is of the
Yeah.
existing structure. The proposed structure is set back to 20 feet. You're looking at the,
Okay, yep.
okay,
Is it all of it is further
20
away
feet.
than existing
Ye-
conditions?
yes, it is.
Okay, well, that's good. Then you meet that standard if that's the case.
I mean, we could certainly incorporate some native plantings that's not a problem. You know, obviously, we incorporated the flow through foundation. Just given the site area, it makes a lot of sense to do that. Would that apply in terms of improving the overall conditions, Mary?
Well, I think you have to do that anyway. So it's things that you know, under building code, you'd have to do that anyway.
Okay.
So, but like plantings along the wetland edge or something like that, or well, or I know that's been mowed forever, so he's maybe allowing a portion of that to be restored to wetland. I'm just spitballing here. It's up to you guys, but I think that there needs to be some you need to show the riverfront area on the plan, and there needs to be some demonstration of how you meet the performance standards for the riverfront regs. Maybe
Okay.
you don't need all that pavement out there, you know, connecting to the adjacent lot. I don't know, but things to think about.
So
Okay.
you want us to put plantings along wetland line that he mows?
It's up to you guys to decide what mitigation you want to provide and demonstrate how you're meeting the performance standards for the riverfront area.
Okay, Mary, why don't I do this? I'll circle back with you.
Yep.
Okay, and I'll move on. TJ, what are your comments or questions for Bob or Maureen on this project?
No more than Mary just brought up. I'm good.
Okay, thank you. Diane, questions? You were looking for the ramp location.
That was the ramp
elevation.
lady.
You-
Yeah,
Well,
I
you
see
know
the
what?
ramps now.
Yeah,
I see where they are, and they're gonna be tied into concrete that's gonna be underneath the so they're taking the pavement out and putting it back down.
Yes, it would be concrete right underneath the base, and then it will be also anchored down to the garage floor at elevation 10, so that those ramps will not move.
And then we were gonna stay in our lane as far as flow through.
Yeah, they're going to
foundations
be
go.
elevated. The base will be at grade and then up to elevation 10.
Yeah, Mary made the good point with the riverfront. We really didn't talk about that last time. I had assumed that it was the same sort of area off there to the right as you look at it. But I guess it's not delineated, so.
Well, Maureen, do you want to touch in on the riverfront area of that flood, that spring tide elevation?
Yeah, so because we have a tidal river, it would be the main annual high water location, which we can certainly add to the plan. And they do that by a 19-year cycle. So we can show that on the plan. That's not a problem.
And that's our riverfront.
Yeah, technically it's your whole lot is in riverfront. I'm looking at Mass Mapper now, and you can see where the river is it comes right near the northern property boundary. So
Yeah,
if
right-
you swing
right there.
high, yeah, if you get, even if it's
That's
higher
in the
than
marsh, though. That's definitely below. It floods above that creek. So
Right,
in other
right.
words, it's all basically, it's all flooded
Right,
area.
you can also delineate it by the changes in vegetation from low marsh to high marsh, because high marsh doesn't flood at a mean tide. So, but the point is that either way, the whole site is going to fall within the riverfront area.
Yes, and I state that
Yeah.
on
Okay,
it's in zone E, which is elevation 13. Our highest elevation is roughly, I think 7.
So Mary, if we just add a note.
it's
to
not
the
by
plan-
elevation necessarily, but that's okay. Doesn't,
Well, I'm going by elevation. I actually shot
It's a-
this whole site with GPS
Right,
satellites,
Right,
and
it-
we're going by the NAVD 88 datum, which is elevation 13.
the
And I'm
mean high
also
water,
saying
mean high
entire-
water is somewhere around probably 4.5 or 5 there, so.
5.2.
Okay,
So Mary, if we just add a note to the plan that the lot's located within the 200-foot riverfront area, would that suffice? And then we can address the redevelopment standards? Would that satisfy your concerns?
yep, it would, I think, if you could also just label the edge of wetland, salt marsh.
Salt marsh, okay.
Okay, so let's just memorialize what additions we're looking for. So what would be the first one that we're going to add as a notation on the plan?
That would be that the entire lot is within the 200-foot riverfront area to whatever this named creek is.
Okay. And the second one we're talking about?
Um,
Wetland marsh.
would be to make a note that the delineated wetland is altered marsh. Salt marsh specifically, salt marsh. And then the third item was that the applicant would provide further documentation on how the riverfront area regulations are addressed by this plan.
And also minus the shed area off the
Yep,
the chart. Minus the shed
I'm sorry, repeat the third one. I'm just, know what it is.
remove the shed is to be removed, so they have additional impervious area to remove.
Yeah, that's just adjusting your delta, Bob, at this point.
Yeah.
'cause the
Yes,
notation to
yes,
Remove it.
yes.
Shed delta.
The third was the meeting the performance standards for the
Of the
riverfront
riverfront.
area,
Okay.
if that's what you were questioning.
Yes, without an agent, I'm the scribe here trying to take minutes.
I'm taking
And-
lots of notes today.
Well,
And
be
Mary, what
careful,
about
Diane. We
the
will make you the clerk of
the
the.
plantings? What would you like for plantings? Because
I can't
he
design
mowed-
it for you, so
I'm
you know,
not saying that. I'm just saying he mows the entire up to the fence line.
Yeah,
so I
Mary,
think
you know
you
what?
need to be creative about what is proposed and, and there's a coastal native plant list that you can choose from. That's one way of addressing the required mitigation. So you can read the regs and decide which way you want to go.
Would they be like towards the front lot line, because the rest of it gets flooded? So the plantings would be flooded, correct?
Well,
If
they could be
I went-
coastal plantings that are
Yeah.
adapted to be flooded. But there are other things that can be done, so to enhance the site, and make it function better as riverfront area.
Okay.
So
Some type of plantings you're looking for, right?
A further reduction in impervious, so your net, decrease and, it might be a combination of things, so you just need to make the case that you're improving conditions, or else you have to apply the standard riverfront area regulations, which means you have to be 100 feet away from the river.
Mhm.
So,
I'm just wondering why in 2013, the Riverfront Act wasn't applied to the 76 by 36 building. And we're proposing a 42 by 42. And that had an order of conditions through DEP and through the Newbury Conservation
because
Commission.
it didn't get correctly reviewed then.
Okay.
I wasn't
So-
here.
We can take a look at
You go
maybe
ahead.
possibly eliminating some of the pavement and doing gravel or pea stone or shells or. We'll take a look at it.
Okay, so team, the way I look at this, I mean, I drive by this site every day. It is a fully vegetated site. There's not a area other than the existing driveway travel areas that does not have vegetation on it. I think moving the property from 13 feet, which is existing, 20 feet, is a substantial improvement from the resource. I don't see the benefit of, certainly reviewing the performance standards and certifying that you certainly meet them, and making those other notations makes sense to me. I just don't see the benefit of taking out mature vegetation to replace it with another type of vegetation. The disturbance doing it is more impactful for me than not doing it, but those are my thoughts anyway.
Yeah,
Okay.
I'm not suggesting taking up vegetation.
But it would be the only way. They would have to take out.
That's
Well,
the
you
only way
can-
we could do
You,
plantings.
you can either supplement with
Okay,
other species, shrubs,
One-
and things, or
Okay, one of
you
the
can-
alternatives to.
yeah,
get
you
to it.
can eliminate some of the mowing of salt marsh that's being done in a way that provides some kind of meaningful benefit, moving the fence. I don't know. It's up to you guys, but I think you need to look at it. So I don't think, I know that's
So
what
we'll
regulations
remove
require.
vegetation to replace vegetation. Okay.
I'm not saying remove anything necessarily.
Mm.
I think Maureen knows what I'm talking about.
We'll take a look at it, Mary.
Yep.
So Bob and Maureen, I think what it is that the delta, well, go back to the table if you would, with the
Sure,
delta between what's
sure.
existing and proposed. So the delta is 570 minus, what was the footprint of the shed? Is that 200 feet?
It was 19.8 by 12.3.
So 243.5. So the delta will be 326.5. So we're almost there.
Well, I counted the proposed dwelling of 1764, which is, that has a flow through, so that should be like, I mean, I can count the concrete walls, and that's about, we got flow through the whole crawl space through there. I don't know if that's I don't know how to calculate that.
I don't see that makes a difference in terms of the performance standards that we're looking at, so.
Well, we're not affecting any of the wave action by proposing flow through
Yep.
foundations.
Yep.
Correct?
It's not in a high wave. It's not in a velocity zone, right? It's an AE zone.
Yes.
Yeah.
But it's a coastal.
Mm-hmm.
And it flows. It's tidal.
Right. Right now, there's no performance standards for land subject to coastal storm flowage. So there's nothing you need to comply with there. There's no compensatory flood storage requirement for coastal floodplain.
Okay.
And if you got a inland riverine situation, that's different and you need to provide compensation for that, but there's no compensation needed for the
Coastal,
flood. Yes, you just need to elevate the structure.
which we did. Right now.
I've made my comments, Bob, so I don't have anything else.
Okay.
Okay,
Sure.
all right, Mary.
Mm.
All right, so Bob and Maureen, it seems that we're looking for some additional information to be noted on the plan. And so we have the riverfront, just identifying the riverfront impact on this. The altered salt marsh. You're going to adjust the delta on the shed
Yes.
removal. And then just, excuse me, hang on, I'm playing conservation agent, omitting people here. And then update your performance standards, on this matter.
Okay.
Okay, Mary, anything else? Does that
No,
cover it?
thanks.
Okay. All right, TJ, any other comments?
No, I'll set.
Okay. Diane, any other comments?
Nope.
Okay. So, Bob, do you want to ask for?
Yes, on
continuance?
behalf of my client, I'd like to continue this meeting until the next
Okay, so
agenda.
July 16th would be
July
the
16th.
next meeting.
Okay.
Okay, I'll entertain a motion to continue the public hearing to July 16th at the applicant's request.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, TJ, Diane. Okay, all in favor? Mary,
Yes,
TJ,
Aye.
Diane,
Yes.
and Bob Connors votes yes. Okay, guys, we'll see you on the 16th.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for your time.
I apologize, I'm just drowning in paper here tonight for some reason.
you're doing a great job, Bob.
Okay, so this is gonna go to the July 16th. And it was moved by Diane and motion by TJ and seconded by Diane. All right, next matter, continue public hearing, DEP file number 0501424, 18 Temple Boulevard West, for addition of deck and elevated walk to dwelling and reclamation expansion of existing parking area. I see Tom Hughes. Tom, why don't you share your screen and provide us with the status and update of this project?
Yeah, so as the commission's aware, we got DEP comments on this one. We also heard from some neighbors, so we've redesigned things a little bit. I was going to try to rush that in yesterday, but in light of another project around the corner that was appealed by DEP, and the analyst, I believe, is the same analyst who commented, I would like to take a little more time in drafting my response to DEP and get it in and give them sufficient time to make sure they've read it before we go forward, just to be careful. I mean, as Mary knows, there was one guy who used to do coastal dune stuff at DEP for quite a while, and there's still a learning curve on some of the analysts, and then, you know, and some of the comments are things that we definitely need to address. So we'd like to continue this to the 16th, and I'm hoping by then, you know, we will have gotten some comments in and hopefully figured out a way to get some feedback. You know,
Yeah, enough said, Tom. You're frozen anyway. So
typically the agent has an easier time now than the consultants do. And so we're kind of a little bit of a handicap here in getting feedback.
No, I hear you, Tom. Okay, I'll entertain a motion to continue the public hearing to our July 16th at the applicant's request.
So moved.
So
Second.
TJ, okay, Mary, you're second. Okay,
Sure.
thank you. Okay, all those in favor? Mary,
Yes,
TJ,
Aye.
Diane,
Yes.
and Bob Connors, yes. You know what's interesting, team? The comments on Independence Way West and on Temple were the technical comments were 11 paragraphs long. On the next matter, 36 Northern Boulevard and 40 Northern Boulevard, which are actually in the primary coastal dune, there were no technical comments. So go figure. Okay, next order of business is a continued public hearing for DEP file number 0501429, 36 Northern Boulevard, for demo of an existing home and construction of a new home on piles and grading. Tom, can you provide your presentation, please?
Yeah, and I do want to note, this is not a continued hearing, this is opening the hearing. So
we continued the public hearing from last meeting because you didn't have a file number.
Oh, true. However, since it was never opened, this is the initial hearing. I don't want folks to think we've already been heard on this. So 36 Northern, let me share a screen. Okay, let me get to the right tab here. So 36 Northern is located on the back side of the primary frontal dune, right near just north of Beach Center. There is a house between 36 Northern and the beach on the seaward of it. And let's just go quickly through. So in the notice of intent, you'll see we've got all our project narrative, the form. All right, so here's our location, just north of Beach Center. There's a sort of pretty good sized primary frontal dune located there. The commission may recall we actually came in with an RDA to be able to reconstruct this retaining wall. The parking area is kind of carved into basically the dune would sort of collapse down into the parking area and eventually, become a problematic issue for Northern Boulevard. So that was all approved under an RDA. The house, now the assessor's lines are deceiving. The house actually encroaches into, I forget which street this is, but into the street here a little bit in its current configuration. It is also a solid foundation that's built into the dune. It is within the VE 16 floodplain. So just north of the building on property is a big stand of Japanese knotweed. Japanese knotweed, as some of the commissioners may be aware, was kind of invaded the island with the Plum Island Sewer Project. There's a large propane tank that actually belongs to the neighbor that is on property, and some of this parking up here is on property. And just another angle, you can kind of see how the parking is recessed into the dune. And the building as well. And then just a little, bigger kind of zoom out on the location. Okay, so I think that's all the kind of critical stuff that's in that. Let's start with this. So here's our existing conditions. Here's the proposed site plan over existing conditions. Basically, it's an elevated structure up on piles. We shift it. You can see we're encroaching into the right of way here. We are actually shifting out of the right of way, centering it on the lot, partially within that area of knotweed. We do also plan on removing the knotweed and replacing that with American beach grass. We retain that recessed parking area, and we kind of take advantage of that building right behind that wall, so that we retain some parking here. We actually backfill the foundation area here with a significant volume of sand to take up that void. We do have to retain this wall that is part of the original house. We're gonna make it as low as we can to kind of follow the grade that we backfill the sand with here. But in order for us to match the surrounding grades with the dune, we have to create a situation where this doesn't continually slump. And so we do have to leave a portion of the wall here, but we're getting rid of so much structure in the primary frontal dune. We're elevating up on piles. We have an elevated deck. And then instead of, we're trying to formalize, instead of what occurs now, there's kind of a walkway into kind of a big sand area that gets you over to the dune. We're basically formalizing a path. We are also getting rid of various sort of landscape wall type things in the process as well. So there's a section of the building on the other sheet. Oh, I just closed the other sheet. Hold on a second. So this is a section through the building. You can see it's pile supported. We're removing the concrete, removing the wood grain, wood platform grade. And basically, building something that fully complies with the performance standards for construction in dune. We do have a utility chase in this back corner. And other than that, I mean, it's really pretty straightforward. It was a challenge to try to figure out how we remove the encroachment from the right of way, slide it over into the center of the lot, retain some parking, and backfill in the foundation hole without creating kind of a mess. So with that, I guess what I'd like to do is open it up to commission questions and comments, and then go from there.
Tom, in relation, point out the proposed dwelling location to the existing parking that has a retaining wall. Where?
So that existing parking retaining wall right here. This is
Okay.
what the RDA approved to be replaced,
Okay,
right? And then that tied into it came across and tied into the old building right here. So the plan is essentially leave this on the other side, and slide the building kind of behind that parking area, and take advantage of that and kind of centralize the altered part of the site, and then revegetate the entire footprint. In this area, we are converting a portion of the interior parking from the old building with clamshell, because these guys, I think they have a total of 4 or 5 spots right now. So we're preserving the total existing parking as much as we can. We're not expanding parking. But this will be taper graded down here to meet the parking, and this will be slightly sort of graded up to meet.
Tom, is there any proposed parking under the structure?
No.
Can you go back to the original picture just to give a little clarity to
Yeah.
existing condition?
So I think the best one to look at.
The street view was the one that I was really curious about. It.
Yeah, so right
Okay.
here. So there's an existing garage, right?
Right.
And then there's parking, paved parking all here. And I think there's sort of remnant paved areas here as well. I think it's just got sand. You just can't really see it as well. So you can pull a car into the garage. You can park in front of the garage and then park in this area as well. So they can accommodate quite a few cars in the current configuration. It's going to be a little tougher to park in the new scenario for that many cars that you could wedge in here now, but it should work.
Okay. Tom, why don't you stop there? Let me open this up to questions. Mary, what questions do you have or comments for Tom?
I'm curious about the knotweed removal and how you're going to accomplish that. I know that a lot of that is going to be underneath the building. But how do you're going to, are you going to excavate it out and then?
I'm actually looking at, we're going to be on site. We're going to have equipment there to move sand. I'm actually thinking in this case of physical removal. And then any resprouts would be, honestly, it's not near an aquatic resource that it would impact, I think, the homeowner. We could have the homeowner use Roundup on it, but I think
Just
just
keep cutting
physical
it.
removal roots and all, and making sure in the end the grades remain the same.
So in doing that, I mean,
in that area.
the roots can be
Yeah,
several
No,
feet deep. So
yeah. So I think
you're gonna have
it's
to
I wouldn't.
backfill with the similar material to restore the grade before you build. Is that?
Yeah, I mean, my experience has been in the dune system, they don't tend to go as deep as they do
That could
like
be.
in the inland. And you almost can pull them, physically, but what I'm envisioning is we're going to use a bucket, we're going to reach in, we're going to shake the sand off, and then, dispose of the plant material offsite. And then there will be some resprouting. We'll never get all the roots out entirely, and then that would just be an herbicide treatment. And it would either be, hiring somebody to come in and use a glyphosate-based thing, or having the homeowner do it themselves. In this case, I think, again, since we're not near a wetland, I don't feel we have to use rodeo. I think you could actually use, an off-the-shelf Roundup.
But you haven't dug around to see how deep the rhizomes are or anything at this point?
I
Because
have.
I worked in sand before with this, and what I found is that there are layers of rhizomes because the sand, because it's a dune and it keeps building up sand and moving sand around, that you have layers of rhizomes. So you may have to go fairly deep, but might be useful to do some testing ahead of time to know how much material you're going to necessarily be dealing with. And
Yeah, I mean, I suppose.
there could be a significant loss of sand, is what I'm saying, in the process, even if you're trying to be careful. So there may need to be additional material. I just don't want to see a net loss of sand.
Yeah, no, I would, I guess one thing I can clarify, and I could do this by email with the commission, or I can, red line strike out the narrative, is I'll clarify that after removal of knotweed, the grades will be restored with clean compatible sand prior to planting.
Yeah, we have to think about conditions on that one.
Yeah.
And this is the pavement in the front is, you're not expanding any pavement, you're just going to use what's there.
Yeah.
Okay. And then the pathway in the back, what's the width on that?
It's only a few feet. Let me take a look at that plan. I can pull it up if you want, but
I
I'll
know
just.
DEP is saying now 3 feet maximum, so that at least that's.
Yeah, I
been
think
hearing.
we're either 3 or 4. I have not heard them say 3 feet maximum, and for some folks who are mobility challenged, 3 feet.
3 to 4 is what they're saying.
Yeah.
No, so no Moby mats or anything. It's just going to be.
Yeah, we have that shown as clamshell path. There is a perimeter fence that we're proposing as well. So it's 0.31 inches. It's a 10 scale. So yeah, that's 3 feet.
Okay. So how are you going to keep sand from just burying your clamshells there on a primary frontal dune?
Well, the beauty with clamshells is that if it gets buried, you have it, if it's just a little bit, DEP does allow you to remove sand from driveways and walkways. It has to be, left in the system. So you would just you could sweep it. Because this site is sheltered by the building in front of it a little bit, the sand movement is not as active, which is why the knotweed is doing so well.
Okay.
So I don't think it's going to be a huge problem. In some areas of the primary dune, I wouldn't propose a path like that just because of that issue. But they can either just continue walking on that path as sand. They could, maintain it by adding additional clamshell and let that clamshell just become part of the dune. The beauty of it is clamshells are just coarse sand eventually, right? So if they're in the dune, they're really not doing they're not having a negative effect.
Yeah. And then the last thing is the lot coverage. What's the pre and post on the lot coverage?
The lot coverage is, let's see, and hold on, I should just share screen on that. There's a table with numbers on it. And I think I've got the lot coverage in the narrative, but let me just pull this up.
plan.
Okay, so the I'll have to double check the total lot size, but the building deck and stairs increases from 670 to 972 to 962 1022 1222. And I believe we stay under 20% with the total. Which I've got to see if he's left that other table. That may be on the other sheet. Let me take a quick look in the narrative. I'm pretty sure I've got that in my regulatory analysis.
Yeah, sorry, we don't have access to all the plans tonight just because of not having an agent right now, so.
Yeah. So I do address that standard in my regulatory analysis. So yeah, it's actually 19.9% of the law.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, when you have a limit, people design to it.
Right. And yeah, so it would be good to know what the comparison is if it's
I mean, it's an increase of
up to the 20%.
about 25% based on the math, just ballpark in my head, and I can give you the exact numbers.
Okay.
But so if you take that back, so it's probably right now 15-ish% coverage, and we're going 15 to 16, and we're going to 20 or 19.9.
Yeah, I'll be curious to see how these kind of projects will be reviewed under the new regulations, which still are not out, but will be affecting these kind of projects.
Yeah, I mean, now in terms of as the regs were drafted, as I think you know, there will be no expansions allowed at all on any of these primary frontal dune properties. And I think I philosophically think there's some error in not allowing certain things like elevated decks that would allow you to get human disturbance off the dune. I think there are some things that hopefully they adjust the regs for. But luckily, since we filed, as the regs were drafted, they did apply only to new filings, so they wouldn't apply to this,
right,
since it's already in.
Right.
What I'm a little concerned about is that DEP historically has tried to jump ahead of the implementation schedule on the regs. So we'll see.
Yeah,
but
I
I
don't
think-
see any comments on this yet, so.
No, there are no comments, and given that you're without an agent, my thought process would be it's going to take you guys time to draft an order. You have some questions tonight, and if there's others, they all seem pretty straightforward and simple. We'll do our best to respond to those, and maybe if we can figure out, continue this to the next meeting, work on a draft order in the meantime, and then if we get DEP comments, I want to keep the hearing open, so if we do get DEP comments, I have time to respond to them as opposed to being on the flip side of that.
Okay, Mary, anything else?
No, thanks.
Okay. Hey, Tom, one question I have is, you have an existing foundation, a cellar floor, you're removing that.
Yep.
What materials are you bringing in? Are you trying, I'm trying to visualize why we have to have that wall retained.
So the problem is, and if you drive by the site, you don't even have to get out of the car. It's a pretty steep grade on that.
Okay.
Let me see if one of these pictures really kind of captures it. It's a pretty steep grade, and this is one of those areas where the dune comes down and it kind of like drops very quickly at the street. And if you remove the retaining wall, we would have to cut back into the dune in order to have it preserve any parking whatsoever. We can't lift our way out of this dune to park under it. It's just, it's too steep. So you know, we do have, you know, the authorization from the commission to replace that wall, retain this parking. So our idea is to bring the building back behind it, take advantage of that. So we don't have parking under the structure, but we have parking directly in front of it.
You know, that's not the wall I was talking about.
Oh,
Tom.
oh, yeah.
It
So,
was, yeah, it was the, let's call it the southern concrete foundation wall that you. were
right.
proposing.
It's related to that same very issue that the grades up here do the same thing, and it's the grade compared to the building. And let me go to that front view. I think that. So the grades here go up the side of this building really quickly, and our plan in putting sand back in is to basically match the grade here, and bring it across, right? And have it come down at the same slope as it does here. But in order to do that, we either would have to immediately start grading down from the back and from here, which would then kind of create this, you know, void of volume. And it was really a trade-off where it seems like allowing us to do that, because that wall is right here, right? That allows us to bring sand all the way across and create a really nice
Okay,
area of doing here.
you've answered my question, Tom. For whatever reason, I was envisioning this was the right-hand side or the southern wall along the driveway, and it wasn't making any sense to me. You've answered my question, Tom.
Yeah,
Thank you.
okay.
Okay, TJ, questions for Tom on this matter?
No questions. A lot of good questions. I think this has a lot of net positives to it, so no questions.
Okay, thank you, TJ. Diane, any questions on this one?
And no, just one about the other, actually, the driveway retaining wall. I was trying to picture myself how that's going to be sitting like under, like in front of, but under the house.
Yeah,
to
so
keep
the piles supporting the house will be directly behind the wall. And we haven't actually, we got far enough with the design work that the wall still hasn't fallen over completely. We wanted the determination in place so that we could replace it if it really started to get worse. And I think the commission may recall, those that were on the commission at the time, that it's got quite a lean to it in a few spots. So the idea is we'll replace the wall under the determination at the same time we build the house. And
That was my next question, because I remember we did this, it was like an emergency situation where we were trying to save the wall. And so we're treating this as two separate matters, the RDA being the rebuilding of the wall. So that rebuilding of the wall is not included in the NOI.
yeah, I mean, because it's already an authorized activity. So I didn't feel it was, I mean, it's interrelated, but it's already an authorized activity on its own. So barring that thing failing before they can get contracting bids, and you know, it's entirely conceivable that we get this all permitted, they get bids from contractors, and it doesn't fit the budget right now to do the housework, in which case the wall gets replaced sooner. You know, crazy things happen with cost of construction or economic factors that affect reconstruction projects. So if the house were not to get rebuilt, the wall still has to happen.
So the only purpose is to maintain the parking, because if the wall comes down and it's just sitting on pilings, then the sand's gonna come.
Yeah.
And wipe out the parking.
Yep.
Okay.
Okay. All right, so do any members have a request? Let me do this. Are there any raised hands from the public at this time? Just to see if there's any input.
I'll
I
stop
see.
sharing so you can see.
Okay, yeah, I see Steve Manchin. Steve, you want to add? You have your floor, identify yourself and your address.
Sure, this is Steve Manchin on 14th Street. And I have a question or clarification, since I haven't looked at all the plans, but it seems to me that there's really no net gain for parking, either whether it be public or private. I ask that in the context that parking on Plum Island is always a hot button issue. But as I look at the plan and heard the discussion, it sounds like there's no net increase in private parking nor loss of public parking with this project. And I was hoping for clarification. Thank you.
Yes, that's the case. In the velocity zone, we can't expand parking. If we didn't have parking, we could have up to 2 9x18 spots, but since they had existing parking over that, we're allowed to maintain that level of parking, and we're actually going a little bit smaller in square footage than prior, and going to take up any area that isn't, you know, already. Well, let's say we're shifting parking over a little bit, so it's possible that maybe there's one extra publicly available parking spot right between what is the right of way that the neighbor is using for their driveway. There may be one spot that frees up, like if you get back to that plan.
Right. Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you, Tom.
Okay, thank you, Steve. All right, do any members have a request for a site visit or additional information at this time?
I don't, since it's so visible, but I do see there's another hand up.
Oh, okay. Yeah, if you would state your name and your address, please.
Hi, this is Michael Etzel, the owner of 36 Northern. Thank you for your time this evening. I just wanted to provide one clarification on the parking. There is currently a significant amount of parking on top of the primary dune. I think there's actually probably about 4 cars worth that are on our property, some of which is used by our neighbors. And as you see in the plans, we are planning to return that to original conditions in the dune with the planting in the sand. So that's part of the overall reconfiguration that Tom was mentioning, not just the street level, but elimination of that entire area of, you know, roughly double stacked about 4 cars worth of private parking right now.
Okay, anything else, Michael?
No, thank you for your time.
Okay. All right, team. Is there
Well,
any?
Mr. Chair, I also want to note the propane tank will also be relocated, but you know, off property, but we put in a fence and we get rid of that parking area, which is right up here.
No, I mean, Tom, overall, it's a net improvement to the resource, eliminating all the concrete. You're reducing parking, you're adding vegetation, putting the building on piling, solving a typical Plum Island encroachment problem of right-of-ways. I don't know who the original surveyor of Plum Island was, but it just seems that when we started doing instrument surveys, we were discovering a lot of encroachments.
Well, if you want to see the history of Plum Island survey, all you have to do across the street a little bit towards the center, there's the house that everybody thought was 4 stories. If you know which house I mean, look in the front.
Exactly,
right,
yeah.
look in the front right corner of where that lot is, and you'll see about 6 survey pins, none of them in the same spot. And the surveyors, like, you know, for example, Everett Chandler, who did this, the surveyors that know where the property lines are, know where you have to start in order to lay out. It depends on kind of where you come from, and they were set by people without a lot of data.
Okay, team, does anyone want a site visit on this? I think the pictures are very, very clear to me, and I viewed the site today, but is there any request for a site visit?
No, I may drive by again, but
Okay,
I think
it's being continued anyway, Mary. I'm just trying to make sure we're not foreclosing anyone's opportunity to take a peek at this.
See
Okay.
it all the time.
Do we have any requests for addition? What I want to try to do is answer all our questions, so when Tom comes back, he's got all the feedback he could possibly need from us. Did anyone have any requests for additional information or plan amendment to this application?
I would just request the detail about the knotweed removal.
Okay. I was thinking, Mary, on the knotweed, actually under special conditions, possibly addressing that as well, because one of the things when we were doing the police station down on Morgan Ave, the protocol was removing it and the disposal of it, where it was being disposed. in some areas, what the engineers came back and said, you're better off actually digging down 8 feet and burying it rather than transporting it and bringing it someplace else. That's how the original problem had festered itself to literally people putting this in the back of trucks and not properly contained at the wrong time of year. Exasperated the knotweed problem in some areas, but okay, so Tom, I think you have feedback. I think what would be is the knotweed removal and disposal. And it almost sounds like, and again, I'm thinking more for special conditions. If you're going to propose a maintenance plan on it, I think we just include that as a special condition so it doesn't come back to bother the owner at a later date.
Okay.
Okay, so I'll entertain a motion to continue this public hearing at the applicant's request to July 16th.
So moved.
So- Second,
Okay, so Diane, you move, and TJ, you're the second. Okay, all in favor? Mary,
Yes,
TJ,
aye.
Diane,
Yes.
and Bob Connors votes yes. Thank you, Tom. Thank
thank
you,
you.
Michael. Okay, continued public hearing because we did open it at the last meeting and we continued it till tonight at the applicant's request, by the way. DEP file number 0501430 40 Northern Boulevard for demo of an existing home and to construct a new home on piles and grading. Tom, can you provide make your
Yep.
presentation, please?
Yep. Tom Hughes with Hughes Environmental Consulting. So this is very similar to the project that you guys just heard. However, we are able in this case to do a little bit better with the parking. Let me share a screen. So this lot is a much larger lot. We don't even approach the 20% on this lot. So, I don't think you'd want to see us approach 20% on this lot. It extends all the way out, and, right up to the beach dune interface and probably includes a little bit of beach in its current form. It's a well-vegetated dune. When you get, further out from the occupation, basically the way that the existing house typically accesses the beach is through this kind of little blowout walk area feature, and then they get out to the footpath and out. So we'll go through kind of the same thing we just did in that last hearing.
Tom, why don't you do this on your narrative? Why don't you go over the specifics on lot coverage and that it'll just
Right. Okay. For lot coverage,
just for someone following this at
Yep.
home.
yeah, so that is always in my regulatory analysis under the bylaws section. We are at 10.2%
Okay.
of the lot area with this. And this is a tear down rebuild, elevated on piles. So this is the property subject to the last hearing. This is the one immediately north. And the idea is to take down, there's a garage, shed, there's a couple little retaining walls, and there's a building, there's parking in front. And let me get to the photos. Again, it's in the VE16. So you can see you've got parking under the building, you've got parking in a garage, quite a bit of parking out front. And you can see there's the footpath that's used to access the beach right here. This photo with the shadowing, you can kind of see how this is kind of a recessed sand area immediately next to the building. Okay, so There's existing conditions. That sand area that you see in the aerials is right here. You can see there's a little retaining wall right there. It's really a pretty heavily occupied site. We remove all those structures. We replace sand to backfill to meet basically to meet the existing grades. We're able to park under on this, and we're able to grade down. We just have a little more room to do it. We don't need any additional sort of structure to be able to do that. Then we have, you know, 2 places to go under. Then we have a little, you know, footpath network. We'll be revegetating this whole area. There's the this is a 2nd floor balcony. We're actually going to plant under that. And we'll be planting under this 2nd floor balcony. Underneath the balcony, there will be a walkway, and that walkway will take us right out to that footpath. So they'll have something defined. And then this area here gets revegetated. So again, you know, there's a lot of real good happening here. We have a utility chase, and we end up, you know, redeveloping the site with the house up on piles. It's more resilient. We add dune volume in replacing all those things. And there's not a lot of vegetative impact because the area is either not vegetated where the building's going, or it is already building, shed, you know, parking area, etc. And the net result again is a structure that complies with the FEMA standards, complies with building code, elevated up on piles, and allows the dune to better function even where the building is going, as opposed to now where you basically have an awful lot of obstruction within the dune volume. So so I think with that, let me just go to the next plan sheet, which has the cross section on it. So again, you can get a sense of how steep the dune is. So yeah, you can see this profile right here.
Tom, what is the first habitable floor elevation?
So the foyer mechanical and elevator area, and sorry, there's an elevator here. The bottom structure is elevation 19.5. Your grades here are 14 going up to 24. And I'm actually looking, I don't see the first floor. Oh, so bottom structure is 26. I don't have the floor height, but the bottom of the main structure is 26. So it's 10 feet above the VE elevation, which is significantly more than the 2-foot clear. And the mechanical and elevator area is also, and those are, the elevators are going to be pile supported. That is still meets the 2-foot above V zone standard. So if the dune were to erode away, the structure still complies.
Okay. Tom, can you go to the tables of plus and minuses?
Yeah. Now I want to clarify, the lot is so big that we did not survey vegetation numbers seaward of that area of the building. Once we got past that big sand scar, we just kind of made the assumption that everything is vegetated beyond then. There was some sand area on the beach, and we just, so for the purpose of this, we have an increase of 111 square feet. But whether or not that 18,509 number is real, you know, is making an assumption as to what the condition is seaward of the main area of the project. You know, once we get past the limit of work, we really didn't pay as much attention to it. We are planting 165 square feet under the second floor deck, but that's going to be significantly high above the dune. So we're confident we'll be able to get that to vegetate.
So total altered is 2512 versus 2566.
Right.
And your assumption on total vegetation on existing is the 18,509. That would be if it was 100% vegetated versus
It
what
would be
might
if it,
actually be.
right. Well, so what it is when you look at, let's go to the existing panel right here. So we count this sand area as not vegetated. We count all these structures as not vegetated, the wood walk as not vegetated. Anything not identified as not vegetated, the assumption is it's vegetated. Oh, you know, could there be a 5x5 area that we didn't pick up as
Right.
not vegetated? Maybe, but we just consider it all vegetated. And when we're done, basically, these areas all get vegetated, and then all the stuff outside the building within our limit of work fence also will be vegetated. So if, you know, if there's an area that's impacted by construction, or if there was an area that we missed in the survey, it still will get planted, because the expectation of the commission should be that if we don't show it as something else, you know, driveway, walkway, you know, building, etc., then it should be vegetated for the COC.
Do you show the line where the priority habitat starts on the lot?
We don't show it on the plan, but it runs, if you look at that aerial, and I'll turn to that in a second, it runs kind of right across here. I can have Everett add it to the plan.
Okay.
We're close, and what we're close with is planting. The limit of work may just touch it, and we could adjust it back to stay out of it. But let me go back to that.
Have you had any communication from Natural Heritage? Have they provided a letter yet on this?
We didn't send it to them because we viewed it as outside the limit. So when you look at so this is that sand area we're planting right here. And the limit is past that. What I can do is have Everett, because we have it all on state plane, I can have Everett put that line on the plan and make sure our limit of work is on the landward side of it. I believe it is, but we can graphically demonstrate that at the next meeting.
Okay. Why don't I open this up to questions? Mary, questions? You're on mute if you're.
Yeah, thank you, Bob. So you walk me through where the clamshell pathway is. Is that in rare species habitat, or is entirely?
No. So if you look at this,
all there. Okay.
yeah, if you see this
not
sand
going-
area here,
Yeah.
that's the limit. That's currently where they walk, right? And then you take a look.
That's not going to change.
We're
Okay.
planting a big chunk of that. And
Okay.
so the where they're going to be walking is actually landward of that limit.
Mhm.
So habitat, I believe habitat is right on the other side of our limit of work line, but I will make sure that's confirmed with Everett, and I'll put the habitat line on the plan so that you can see that.
Yeah. And then my other comment is just if you enlarge your proposed plan a little bit, you know, with respect to the drive under parking spaces, it looks like, and you had pointed out in your profile that there's a pretty good slope there. And I'm wondering if you need to do some grading to create those spaces.
Well, so when you look at the bottom of structures at 26,
Yep.
right? And we're about a car length in here. The grade is 19
Yep.
on this side of the house naturally. So we're trying to match that. It might, and all of this is where we're adding sand. So the idea is at the very front of the car, we're gonna have about 7 feet of headroom. And then the rest of it, you know, if you look, if we're matching 17 here, the bottom of our structure is at 26, we're gonna have 9 feet
Okay,
above to
so
the
it will
bottom.
be, it will be a sloping,
Yeah, it'll be sloping underneath
Base.
the building, right?
and it will be, it will be crushed shells on a slope.
Yeah.
Okay, so you're not taking out, you're not gonna try to level that out or create any, remove any sand to create those spaces.
No, no, you know, again, you look at this and the grades are consistent across. So when we get in a car length, you know, we're like at 7 feet to the bottom of structure where the hood of the car is going to be.
Right, but you're also driving up, just, you know, 3 to 1
Right.
slope or something right there.
Right, right. So it is going to be, you know, it is going to be driving up a slope. Again, we're backfilling garage here. And so, you know, I think there's a little bit of ability for that to be, you know, made sure it's going to work. You know, as it goes, but basically the grades should be pretty consistent from this side to this side. And in fact, we kind of want them to be, because if you try to create a hollow, it's going to fill with sand.
Right, and the temptation will be to create some kind of a wall at the back of these spaces, so that's what I'm trying to
Right,
prevent.
right. No, no. So the grades, I mean, this is a relatively stable grade.
Uh-huh.
You know, this side to me is more representative of what the dune wants to be. This area is kind of warped by the fact that the sand has kind of come up against a garage for years.
Yeah, okay.
Over here. So the idea would be more or less carrying this grade across under the structure as we backfill with clean sand. And then blending it in as we get to this side.
Okay.
It should be okay and it should work just fine.
I really appreciate the attention to detail on
you
these
know, will you be
plans,
able to have,
'cause it's very helpful for us to visualize what's happening, especially the color
Yeah.
when it gets late at night. But are you going to be requesting this, a similar continuance on this, or?
yeah,
is
I mean,
your only
again,
crack at it?
again, given that on a back dune environment, somebody was appealed on something where I felt like we dotted every I and crossed every T, and we did send in our responses to DEP. We sent in 2, but they went through the guy who assigns the file numbers because they never responded to my request on who is the analyst.
So you think there might be some
I
comments at some point?
I just want to be protective of my applicants and
Yep.
give it a little bit more time. And if I get a DEP comment before the next meeting, then it gives me time to try to address it and handle it on the front end, which is always easier than handling it on the back end. And then the other thing, what I would like to do in the meantime, unless the commission, after we complete sort of tonight's part of the hearing, unless the commission has some sort of major asks of the plan, I would ask that the commission kind of move towards getting at least an order far enough along. And what I'm going to suggest works for some commissions would be, in the absence of an agent, if we could have 2 Word documents with sort of the framework of an order at the next hearing. And then maybe we can type in rough conditions into that to give you guys a head start on what an order would be. That might be a way of doing it. It might be a little more time consuming, but it might prepare you to issue within the 21 days.
Yeah, I think we have plenty of representative orders out on the island that we can use as guidance. I think we should be all set.
Yeah,
Harry,
but I mean, if we
I'm-
had you know what I mean? If we had the live Word document in the hearing, we could get to a point, ideally, of pulling it up
Yeah,
and
that's up to
typing
Bob.
in conditions.
My point is, I think that there's a template that the town has. We just don't have access to it at this moment. What I'm going to suggest, Tom, is we can send you the blank template. I would suggest you prepare a draft OOC, and we'll redline it, and we can possibly, where we don't have an agent, you know, our ability to do this is somewhat limited. I think the big thing tonight is to give you all the feedback and close up pretty much all of our questions and ask for, you know, whatever. where the only thing we'll be awaiting at the next meeting is, were there any other technical comments that have trickled in between now and July 16th? And I think that's really the goal you're looking for, right? Is to
Right. I
have
just
no
want to
open
make
issues
sure, right.
with us. Yeah, on the paperwork, Tom, I think the best we can do is get you our blank template with all of the standard conditions on it that's blank. And I would suggest that you take advantage of proposing a sample OOC for our review.
Yeah, no, fair enough.
Okay.
And what I have for comments so far is to add habitat. I'll see if Everett can sort of clarify a little bit how the grades will work under the garage, if he can think of how to do that. So it's visually pleasing, and then anything else that comes up.
Tom, just one question, and I think this will really, help all of us. What's the current elevation of the garage floor now? I'm assuming it's probably down around 16.
I don't know if he's got that on here, but it would be pretty easy to tell. So you enter the grade at 16, so it's probably 16 straight back.
Okay. So we're it's a plus to the dune system as far as the
Oh, yeah.
volume matter. So, okay.
Right, and on top of that, there's a slab depth. There may be, Plum
Yep.
Island, whether or not there are footings on a garage, we don't know, but all of that comes out and all of it gets
Yep.
replaced with clean compatible sand before we put on the surface for the parking area or backfill it to meet grades.
Let me do this. Let me continue on with the other members for questions for Tom. TJ, do you have any questions for Tom on this matter?
No further questions.
Okay, thank you, TJ. Diane, do you have any questions for Tom on this matter?
Now I'm driving back and forth on my computer between 36 and 40 Northern, and I see how it could work, the parking on this one, and how it wouldn't work on 36. So in my own visual head, it's interesting.
Okay.
No
All right.
question.
Do we have any raised hands from Tom, can you reduce? There you go.
Yeah, done.
Does anyone see raised hands from the public at this point? I do not see any at this point. Okay. Do any members have a request for a site visit on this project? It doesn't seem like we're requiring any additional information other than adding the priority habitat line to the plan. All right, I'll entertain a motion to continue this public hearing to our July 16th meeting at the applicant's request.
So moved.
Second? Okay. If you guys keep that order, it's gonna make my life pretty easy.
That's what we're
Well,
trying to
just-
do.
I
Why
know
don't we just do
Mary
it?
will
I mess it up.
Mary
Yeah.
will feel left out, but I think she'll get over it.
We've been doing that for 2 hours, Bob.
Well, listen, you gotta have a sense of humor at 8:09 at night. It's okay.
Got through a lot.
Roll call, all in favor, Mary,
Yes.
TJ,
Aye.
Diane,
Yes.
and Bob Connors, yes. Hey, Tom, before you go, I'm curious, I've been out of town. Is there any update on the 333rd Street appeal? I'm not sure if this is the proper format to do it, but just curious.
So to date, we had the site visit and DEP was going to determine whether they had a requirement for more information. And they were going to do that before we filed with MIPA, which will, so as soon as we get feedback from DEP, and I have not gotten that for more information, or that they're not going to ask for more information, then we'll be filing our ENF with MIPA.
Okay. All right, Tom, I think you're all set for tonight.
Yeah, well, thank you very much. Thank you for your patience tonight, guys, and have a great night.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, team under administration, obviously our conservation agent is no longer with us. I know that our town administrator is getting ready to post the job application. And I think Mary if you have any other sites that might be helpful for that agents look at or potential agents look at, I think Tracy would welcome any guidance on that.
Okay.
Okay. So the other thing, team, is I received an email from the owner of Independence Way West. That was appealed by DEP, and I think that's why Tom is being probably overly cautious on his applications tonight and continuing these hearings. There is a site visit that's been scheduled. We're not a party to it, although we were invited to attend. Town council has been notified. Doesn't sound like, I think July 16th was the actual proposed date for a site visit with DEP. I think that's going to be rescheduled because Tom has a conflict. But other than that, I really don't have anything else to add. Mary, anything you want to add, or any pearls of wisdom you want to share with us?
I was just trying to remember what Independence Way West was.
That was the Dr. Mateus property. It was, I think it was 19 Independence Way West.
Okay.
And DEP had,
BCC, they had a lot of comments.
yeah, they had a lot of, it's just amazing how the further we got from the actual ocean, the more comments came in.
It just depends on which reviewer's desk it get,
Yeah,
it's assigned
gets
to,
assigned
and
to,
it can
yeah.
guess who wrote them.
So the thought on that is when they have their site inspection, it'll add clarity to what the order was for. And there may be some minor amendments they want, and it may likely be remanded back to us to handle it, but we'll know. We'll find out from that point.
Okay, if you want to keep us posted, I'll try to attend if I'm available.
Yeah, the town hasn't even received the actual letter. The owner had taken a photograph of it and sent it off to Tom, who forwarded it to me.
Okay, and so procedurally right now, Chrissy is accepting applications.
Yeah,
She has.
she's on vacation this week. I actually went to town hall yesterday and wanted to chat with her just to have a protocol how we're going to handle it. And what I'm asking is whatever comes in to at least CC you and me with the file, so that tonight we could have shared files prior to the meeting if we had been afforded that. So apologies that we're having a little bit of a glitch here on the Dropbox and such, but we will persevere through it for sure.
I think it went very well considering, and thank you for all the extra effort I know that you put in to prepare for it.
Yeah, no, you know what? I think we're always kind of more reliant on the agent to do the site visits on the COCs, and it, so not a big deal. Well, hopefully we get an agent. We get someone that likes us, I guess. So anything else, Mary?
That's it. Thank you.
Okay, TJ, any comments?
No, great job, Chairman.
Okay, good. Diane, there's going to be a little pearl of wisdom you want to share with the commission.
No, I
and the
think we got
public
through a
again?
lot tonight. We got through
Look
a
at
lot.
it. It's 8:15. We had a lot of stuff. I'm pretty happy
Yeah, we're good.
to get through it. Okay, well, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Do we have a second? Okay, roll call. Mary,
Yes.
TJ,
Aye.
Diane, and Bob
Yes.
Potter.